going to sing This Is the Day. I started, and I'm going to sing, and then you echo me, and Miss Jolyn and Pastor Jeff are going to help you with that, okay? Are you ready? This is the day.
This is the day
That the Lord has made.
that the Lord has made.
I will rejoice.
I will rejoice
And be glad in it.
and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day. This is the day
That the Lord has made. Again. This is the day.
This is the day
That the Lord has made.
that the Lord has made.
I will rejoice.
I will rejoice
And be glad in it.
and be glad in
Everyone.
it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Echo. This is the day.
This is the day that the Lord has made. Into my heart, come into my heart, Lord Jesus, come in today, come in to stay, come into my heart, Lord Jesus. Into my heart, come into my heart, Lord Jesus, come in today, come in to stay, come into my heart, Lord Jesus.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Bible story. I'm really excited to tell you all about God's chosen people and how God was with them. I'm reading today from the Jesus Storybook Bible, and this comes from Exodus, which is kind of at the beginning of the Bible. I wanted to mention, too, if you need a Bible for your family, we have Bibles that are for adults and teenagers and a storybook Bible for kids. All you need to do is call the office and I would love to get you one. So, okay, on to our story. God to the rescue. Joseph and his brothers grew old and died, but their children's children stayed on in Egypt, where they became a very large family. Later on, a new king began to rule, but this Pharaoh didn't remember Joseph, and he didn't like God's people. He made them into his slaves, and he beat them and made them work harder and harder. God's people cried out to God to rescue them, and God heard them. He remembered his promise to Abraham. He would look after his people. He would find a way to set them free. One day, Moses was looking after sheep when something caught his eye. A bush was behaving very oddly. It was flickering with flames, but the leaves weren't burning up. He took a closer look. "Moses," boomed a big voice. Moses leapt back. The bush was talking to him. "I have heard my people's cries. I have seen their tears. So I have come down to rescue them. Go to Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go free." Moses was afraid. But God said, "I will be with you." So Moses went to Pharaoh. "Pharaoh," Moses began, "God says..." "God?" said Pharaoh. "Never heard of him." Moses kept going. "God says, let his people go free. Why should I?" Pharaoh said, "I don't want to, won't." So he didn't. So God gave Pharaoh 10 warnings called plagues. First, God turned the river Nile into blood. No one could drink the water, but still Pharaoh would not let them go. So God made frogs come hopping and leaping and jumping. In your bed frogs, in your hair frogs, in your soup frogs, all over, everywhere frogs. "Make them go away," Pharaoh screamed. "Then your people can go." So God took the frogs away. But Pharaoh changed his mind. "You can't go," he said. Then God sent zillions of gnats, but still Pharaoh said no. So then God sent swarms of flies buzzing in your ears, in your eyes, flies. And after that, sickness and horrible boils and huge hailstones and a storm of locusts, then darkness when it should have been day, until it seemed that the whole world, creation, and everything was coming undone, falling back into darkness and emptiness and nothingness. But each time Pharaoh said, "Make it stop and then I'll let them go." And each time when God made it stop, Pharaoh changed his mind and said, "Actually, no, you can't go." Finally, Moses warned Pharaoh, "Obey God or he'll have to send the worst thing of all." And Pharaoh just laughed. So God said, "The oldest boy in each family of Egypt must die, but my people will be safe." God told his people to take their best lamb, to kill it, and put some of its blood on their front doors. When God passes over your house, God will see the blood and know that the lamb died instead of you. That night, it was just as God had said. Suddenly, piercing the darkness, echoing through the corridors of the palace, came a blood-curdling scream. Pharaoh's oldest son had died. At last, Pharaoh did just what God said. "Get out! Get out of Egypt now. Just go." And so that very night, Moses and God's people fled out of Egypt and out of slavery. They were free at last. God's people would always remember this great rescue and call it Passover. But an even greater rescue was coming. Many years later, God was going to do it again. He was going to come down once more to rescue his people. But this time, God was going to set them free forever and ever. That's our story for today. Join me next week and we'll see the next chapter of what happens to God's people after they were released from slavery and bondage in Egypt. I can't wait to see you then. Bye for now. I wanted to remind you that Children's Church is up and running here at Good Shepherd. The fun starts at 10 o'clock in the morning with Bible stories and songs and crafts and, well, lots of fun for kids. We would love to see you here worshiping God with us and learning more about his love for us. And if you're still looking for an at-home option, we have a Zoom call that happens at the same time. You see the same things are on the screen, see the same songs put on the screen too. It just all comes right through the call. And we'd love to have you be a part of that. If you need that Zoom login information, just call the church office and we would be happy to provide that for you. We would love to see your kids either here in person or on the Zoom call where we can connect with one another and learn about God's love for us. So hope to see you there.